Hey everybody, let's try to go YAML free. And if you watch the previous video, I have the whiteboard and what I'm trying to describe here. Where we're at is in this very first step of, take what's in the test bed and move it into a model. And then we're going to make the migrations, migrate, and bring it into the admin panel. So this is where we're going to start. Now I have one device here, the DevNet Sandbox Nexus device, that I'll start with, but we'll revisit that later. So let's try to do this here. And let me turn on my magnifier. People seem to like that. I've had good feedback that it's easier to follow. So what I have here is the testbed file. Okay, and this is the actual host name. And with pyATS, you can enable or disable host name checking. I use the host name. And that's an iteration, under devices. Now these are individual fields, and this is a YAML file that I want to get away from. I don't like this. It doesn't scale. I don't want to be dealing with YAML. I want to be dealing with a database. So I'm going to bring in all of these fields into my model. And let's do this exercise. So let me see if I can keep both on the screen at the same time. And let's make our model file from this data. All right, so again, I'm in models.py, and you can see an example of some of my models here. I knew that was going to happen. Okay, here we go. We bring all this over. Okay, so what we're going to bring is a class, and let's call this devices. This isn't just necessarily for our test beds. Merlin here in this video is really moving into more of, I hesitate to say a source of truth, but once we start adding our devices in and pushing buttons and learning network state based on the database of devices, Merlin might be something that you want to put all of your network devices in, which really starts elevating it to a source of truth. So we have this class devices, and it's really not that hard. You can see the hint down below. So what we're going to do is host name to capture, the iteration of devices. Now I could call this device, but let's use host name here. And this is going to be a models.text field. And then I'm going to go through them, So we're going to have alias equals, and I'm just going to steal this because they're all going to be the same thing here, more or less. And then we're going to have type. And I don't like that that's green. That might be a keyword of some kind. Let's do device type, okay, to be safe here. OS. Now, I'm not going to do credentials. I'm going to do username and password here. And now I'm going to highlight, I'm using a text field here. There might be like a better assaulted hashed field or an encrypted field or something, a password field. There might be something more appropriate, but for now, as an alpha build, I'm going to just use text field, and I'll revisit that. So now let's do protocol. And let's do our IP address, and let's do our port, and let's do a connection timeout. And now let's do the date timestamp, as a created in this database, or something that we can touch later on if we update this model. So let's bring a date timestamp in. So now let's return this. All right, and we're going to just define, we're going to follow along here. Let me get back to, so we're going to define and return this as a string of self, template, and what we need is each one of those, and we're going to return the template.format of self. Now for the template, we need all these fields as 0 dot. All right, so let me see if I can do this here. 0 dot host name 0 dot alias 0 dot device type 0 dot OS 0 dot username 0 dot password, and then we got protocol IP address, I think port is next, and then connection timeout. And then we have timestamp. And we're returning that. Okay, so that is our model, our YAML to model. Now our next step is to make a migration of this model, and we're going to do that in Ubuntu here, and we're going to watch what happens here. So you can see what I'm trying. So I'm going to use the pythons here. What we're using is this manage.py file from Django. So we're going to call them python manage.py make migrations, and then Merlin. Okay, has no attribute text. Oh, I got a lowercase f here. So, yep, all throughout the, let me just quickly deal with that. Excuse me for the mistake. Two, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Save that, and now excuse me about that mistake there. Let's clear the screen, and now let's do that. Make migrations Merlin, and it has no attribute text. Oh, jeez. There we go. Excuse me, everybody. 0 for 2 on the migrations. Let's do this again. So now, there we go. That's what we're expecting. So now we have in this migrations folder, we can see there's a new devices.py migration, and this is the Python that we get from that. Okay, pretty cool. So now we have to migrate. Now that we've made a migration, let's migrate it into the database, which is simply the migrate command behind manage. And now we've applied that and migrated it into the database. So now what I'm going to do is to present this table, I'm going to copy devices, go into my admin panel here, and, well, I don't need to copy, we know it's called devices. To present it in our admin panel. Now let's get our server up and running. Excuse me about those little mistakes, but that's what happens. And now we're going to go into local admin, log in as admin, and yeah, okay. We should have a new devices. Here we go. And there, we haven't populated it, but here's the key. An administrator like myself could come in here now and populate the information. Right? This is not going to come from a pyATS job. This is to build pyATS jobs dynamically without the testbed file. Right? So, yes, me as an administrator, and let's try it, right, from our testbed file. So let me try to bring this up on the side with, yeah, I'm not going to be able to do it with the magnifier. With our testbed file. Right, so that's the host name. And then we're going to bring in the alias. Right, the type, the OS, the username, password, the protocol, port is 22, IP address, and then our connection timeout is 360. Now we want to timestamp it with today and now. And right, I could save and add another and start to build my table, but we're going to say save. So now I have that record here. So I've effectively moved out the YAML file into my database. So what am I going to do next with it? Well, what I thought before, right, there's, let me get the magnifier off. There's some things that I want to do here before I move into dynamically running pyATS jobs. Let's do what I've done for every other command now. Build a REST API, add it to the search engine, add it so that we can do /devices and get the device tables, put it into year, month, day, operating system, aliases. Let's start to build around our new table of devices. That's job one. Job two is going to be building a form. You've seen how an administrator can do it, like a power admin, or if someone has to update an IP or something in the back end. Can I put a form together, user-facing, that they can do what I just did? Fill out a form, click submit, and populate the database. I'm also going to work on that before I work on dynamically building the right pyATS job from the database. That will come. Let's get there slowly. Thanks very much. Again, recap. pyATS YAML file. Testbed.YAML. The linchpin to pyATS. What it scopes for the job and tests you've built. It's a YAML file. I don't want to deal with the YAML file. I want to deal with databases and software. Not this sore thumb. It's literally the only .YAML file I have in my repository right now. And I'd like to get rid of it. You've seen we are already there. We've effectively gotten rid of it. We just need to build on top of this with views and controllers. We can move beyond our model now that we know our model works. The other thing I'd like to maybe comment on is we could build something now to fill Merlin's database of devices from a northbound NetBox, Cisco Prime, DCNM, right? We can make an API call and grab selectively from the JavaScript we get back from those northbound APIs and build our device database. I haven't done that yet, but the fact that I can do it in the admin panel is no problem. I just have to populate the models with the JSON and do a .save. So keep thinking about ideas here. This is really exciting now that we're breaking free from YAML. All right, we'll see you soon.